Submerged monoliths discovered? Did ancient sailors build shrines to the Kraken? 2026. What if the greatest secret of ancient sailors isn't buried in desert sand, but hidden beneath the busiest shipping lanes on Earth? Before you scroll away, imagine this. Beneath the waves, far below cargo ships, cruise liners, and oil tankers, stand towering basalt pillars. Not scattered randomly. Not jagged like broken volcanic rock. But symmetrical. Deliberate. Aligned. And positioned directly along ancient maritime migration routes. These aren't just rocks. They may be shrines. And not to a god of the sky, but to something that lived in the crushing dark of the sea. If this discovery unsettles you even a little, share this video, because what lies below may rewrite maritime history. For centuries, sailors told stories of the Kraken. A colossal cephalopod rising from black water. Tentacles thicker than ship masts. Eyes glowing in the stormlight. A creature capable of dragging entire vessels into the abyss. Modern historians dismissed these accounts as fear-fueled exaggerations. The sea is dangerous. Storms are violent. Ships sink. Myths grow in the gaps. But what if those myths were anchored to something real? The mystery began with sonar. In 2026, a deep-sea mapping expedition surveying a heavily trafficked trade corridor captured something unusual on high-resolution multi-beam sonar. At first glance, the formations appeared to be basalt columns, common in volcanic regions. But these weren't clustered randomly like typical cooling fractures. They stood apart. Isolated. Spaced with mathematical precision. Each pillar rose vertically from the seabed, some reaching over 20 meters in height. Their sides were smooth compared to surrounding rock. Their bases appeared intentionally stabilized, as though wedged into the sediment. Most unsettling of all? They formed a pattern. When researchers overlaid their coordinates onto reconstructed ancient maritime routes, Phoenician, Polynesian, early Mediterranean traders, the pillars aligned almost perfectly along navigational paths used thousands of years ago. Coincidence is possible. But alignment across multiple trade networks separated by continents? That demands investigation. Geologists were first to weigh in. Basalt forms from cooling lava. Under certain conditions, it can fracture into hexagonal columns. The famous Giant's Causeway in Ireland is proof of that. But these submerged pillars lacked the chaotic clustering typical of volcanic cooling. They were too evenly spaced. Too isolated. And some bore features that geology struggles to explain. Deep grooves encircled several columns at consistent heights, as if something had been tied around them repeatedly. Notches appeared carved into stone at accessible positions for a diver, or a surface worker at a much lower sea level. Because here's the crucial detail: sea levels were dramatically lower during the last ice age. Up to 120 meters lower. Areas that are now submerged trade routes were once coastal plains, shallow reefs, or even exposed land bridges. If these pillars were erected before the sea reclaimed them, they would not have required modern diving technology. They would have stood near shorelines. Visible. Intentional. But why build them? Why risk labor, transport, and construction in unstable coastal zones? The answer may lie in fear. Ancient sailors were deeply spiritual. The sea was not a neutral expanse, it was alive with temperament. Storms were interpreted as wrath. Whirlpools were omens. Strange lights beneath waves were supernatural warnings. If a colossal predator, real or perceived, inhabited certain waters, ritual appeasement would not be unusual. Across cultures, we see maritime offerings, coins cast into waves, animals sacrificed before voyages, temples dedicated to sea gods like Poseidon. But a shrine directly in the ocean? That suggests something far more immediate. Not distant reverence, but negotiation. Marine archaeologists analyzing high-definition ROV footage noticed something extraordinary. Several pillars featured symmetrical scoring patterns, parallel incisions running vertically along the stone. These were not erosion marks. Ocean currents don't carve evenly spaced lines in consistent depth. The grooves resembled toolwork. Primitive, perhaps, but deliberate. Fragments of barnacle-encrusted stone nearby appeared shaped into flat platforms, possible offering stages. Carbon dating organic material trapped within crevice suggested human presence in the region during a time when sea levels were lower. If confirmed, it would mean ancient civilizations constructed monuments that the ocean later swallowed. But the alignment is what keeps researchers awake at night. Plot the monolith coordinates. Then trace historical shipping routes. The overlap is undeniable. It's as though ancient sailors marked specific ocean corridors, zones they believed required tribute. Zones to avoid angering something below. Skeptics argue that pattern recognition is a human flaw. We see meaning in randomness. But randomness rarely produces symmetry. And it almost never aligns across multiple cultures separated by vast distances. There is another detail rarely discussed publicly. Modern shipping logs show that several of these monolith sites coincide with historical reports of unexplained vessel disappearances. Mechanical failure? Likely. Severe weather? Often. But deep-sea topography around the pillars includes sudden drop-offs and unusual current vortices. Natural hazards. Or territories. Consider this. If massive deep-sea cephalopods once occupied shallower waters during glacial periods, they would have been more visible to ancient mariners. Giant squid exist today. Colossal squid grow even larger. We've barely studied the Hadal Zone, the deepest trenches on Earth. What if Ice Age oceans supported even larger species in regions now submerged? Creatures that migrated deeper as temperatures rose and sea levels shifted? Myth does not always equal fiction. Sometimes myth is distorted memory. Imagine standing on an ancient shoreline. Before you lies open ocean. Behind you, a growing settlement dependent on trade. You've lost ships. Good ships. Strong crews. The elders whisper of something vast beneath the waves. You build pillars. You carve symbols. You leave offerings. You ask the deep for safe passage. And when the ice melts and the sea rises, your shrines vanish beneath advancing tides. Forgotten. Until sonar reveals their silhouettes thousands of years later. Are these basalt spires geological anomalies? Possibly. Are the grooves the result of natural fracturing combined with erosion? Maybe. But why the symmetry? Why the alignment with maritime corridors? Why the consistency in spacing? And why do so many cultures independently describe monstrous tentacled beings welling beneath specific waters? The answer may not be that ancient sailors worshipped a literal kraken. The answer may be more complex. Perhaps they identified dangerous zones, areas of volatile currents, tectonic instability, or rich predator ecosystems, and ritualized them into sacred boundaries. The pillars may have served as markers. Warnings disguised as shrines. Or they were exactly what they appear to be, altars. Built to appease the crushing power of the deep. Today, container ships glide unknowingly above those submerged monoliths. GPS guides them. Sonar maps the floor. But beneath modern steel hulls lie silent stone sentinels. Barnacle encrusted. Eroded. Waiting. Whether they were geological coincidences or humanity's first oceanic temples, they remind us of something profound. The sea has always inspired both commerce and terror. And we have always tried to bargain with what we fear. If these pillars were shrines to a deep-sea leviathan, then ancient sailors were not primitive. They were practical. They respected the abyss. Perhaps we should too. Because the ocean still holds more secrets than the stars. And some of them may be older than our oldest maps. Please like, subscribe and follow for more.